Part of this is that having a parts business, being able to have your car fixed sort of in any of the big cities or any of the big towns where you may live or where you may be when something goes wrong, that costs money. I mean, that's one of the reasons why some cars cost more than others. They have bigger networks. They have, you can get more parts in more places. I would presume that your parts business may have a bit of a competitive advantage here, but it's not a big part of your business.
So the parts side of our business is actually situated in more than one area if you look at our financials in those segments. So while a vehicle is still under warranty, we reflect all their sales as part of the retail and even through the importers. And that would be parts that's under warranty, which normally last up to a 5-year period, or in the case of Hyundai, maybe 7 years. Our aftermarket parts side, which you just referred to, is actually that part of the business to service your vehicle that's older. So it's, as soon as it goes pretty much out of warranty, up to, call it 15 years. And that side of the business was probably quite underserved in the past. I think a lot of our initiatives around it was to try and make sure we serve that part of the value chain a bit better. And we've certainly invested quite heavily into that area of the business over the last few years. We believe there's a lot of margin, obviously, on those parts. And yes, customers do drive the vehicles for longer. They seem to last longer these days as well. If you look at the average age of vehicles, they've all increased. The overall park has increased probably by 1.5 years on average over the last few years. And that's the part of the side of the business that we believe there's still a lot of road to run and a nice growth opportunity for us. It's not just in South Africa, it's also in places like the UK and Eastern Europe that we've been entering that market.
You mentioned in your SENS release today there was quite a lot of optimism in South Africa last year. You would think that would lead to higher car sales, especially with interest rates beginning to come down. I worry that some of that optimism has faded a bit and that consumer sentiment may actually not be as optimistic as it was, particularly in light of what we're seeing internationally, I suppose, executive order after executive order, but also because, the tension over the budget.
Yes, I think it's difficult to call it. We will see exactly what happened in February. I think that positive momentum was still there, certainly in January. February, I think, there was a little bit of talk about it, but I think a big factor there is still the lower interest rates, which obviously is sitting with us. And a lot of consumers were sitting on the fence for a number of years and not getting into a replacement cycle. And we're waiting for a little bit of good news to really get back into it. So we hope that that positive sentiment do still remain. Obviously, what happens in the world, and sometimes, I don't know, South Africans have a way of maybe sometimes being slightly more resilient about that as well. So I think we'll manage it as we see fit. At the moment, there wasn't real indications of that yet up to February.
You've been CEO, I think it's 3 months now. A slightly tough time to take over, also taking over from someone who had been in the job for quite a while. How have you found it so far?
Yeah, it's obviously very challenging. I think it's always nice if you can take over and everything is just going your way. I think in our particular case, there's a lot of strategic thinking behind how we need to take this business forward. I think we're currently asking some difficult questions in some of our businesses and making sure that we're on the right track. And just testing it against the real fact pattern and forget about the perceptions. But certainly very exciting, and I think it's been pretty much a seamless transition as Ockert moved out and I moved in. And we did get a new CFO, but hardly anything really changed in the process. So I think the whole succession plan was really well managed by the board. And we're confident going forward with the team that we've got.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Ockert Janse van Rensburg, the CEO at Motus on The Money Show.